This will be the first billion-dollar presidential campaign. So it's not all on the Republican side, and I think particularly if it's going to be a close election, which looks like it will, the big corporate interests will give money to both sides because they're buying insurance for the future. At various times there have been various examples. McCain, Feingold, and others have passed various measures, but as I said, they tend to be Maginot lines because so long as you have this basic equation of money with speech that's protected by the First Amendment, I think it's a hopeless proposition to try and do anything about it. So American politics is pretty much stuck with it. I think Iran is much more likely to have an impact than Afghanistan because the situation in Afghanistan and in Iraq are sort of structurally hopeless in the way that Vietnam was, in that you have an American puppet regime, or what's perceived to be an American puppet regime in the country, being supported. I call this the Vietnam syndrome. It was exactly that situation in Vietnam. And the other piece that parallels Vietnam is American domestic support for these things will atrophy because America doesn't have a vital interest at stake. When Obama was appearing before AIPAC, he stood up there and, in my mind, very unwisely said, containment of Iran is not enough. It's unacceptable for them to have a weapon. And if the sanctions don't work, we will go in and do something about it. It's very unwise, first, because it's not clear we can, and secondly, because it's not in our interest. It's very dangerous to declare something to be unacceptable if you're not actually in a position to do anything about it. It's far from obvious that Israel or the US could actually stop the Iranians from developing a nuclear weapon. And then you just make yourself look weak. Americans don't have any visceral dislike for inequality, even poor Americans. They tend to believe that, you know, they're not working class, they're just passing through, and everybody has a chance at upward mobility, even though the truth is that there are lower rates of economic upward mobility in the US than in the other advanced capitalist democracies. People don't know that. If you want a system in which the next generation of Americans can have upward mobility and can be competitive with Asia, you need big public investment in infrastructure and particularly in education, and we're not doing it. And so things like math scores and so on, the US is just falling farther and farther behind.